Hi, Erica.
Hi, Nick. How's it going?
It's good.
Good.
It's Friday afternoon.
It is Friday afternoon.
You're still sick.
I'm still sick, but I'm about to go pick up antibiotics, so this is hopefully going to be the last week where I sound like this.
Yeah, you've been sick for about 9 years.
Yeah.
This is a world record.
I think I read so many takes online just about how, like, and especially on Instagram, where, like, this is just your, like, expect to be sick from, like, October to March. So I've just been kind of, like, braving it. Like, this is just the life, you know? But, like,
I miss South Carolina so much right now because no one got sick in South Carolina.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's just like it was like still warm enough where just stuff didn't, no one really gets sick in the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
It's
everyone
fantastic.
is. Yeah, the Northeast is like a petri dish. I miss it. I miss South
Yeah,
Carolina
it's terrible.
so much.
Um,
Okay, let's talk about something today.
Yeah.
There's an idea that's
There's an
going to lead
idea.
us into it.
I can't stop thinking about skill 2 and the struggle that I've been having with, like, remaking it and, like, wanting to remake it again. I'm not going to let myself, but there's, like, parts that I want to kind of, like, add to it. And it's interesting. It's an interesting problem because, like, a lot of the people that we work with, or just tons of openers, like, you're gonna like slot in to someone's business before and after other people are doing, like, important work that plays into what you're doing. Like, there's never a time when you come into the business and you're like, I can solve every problem. Like, you don't want to be either. That's not that none of us would make any money that way. So, like, the thing that I'm struggling with is one-to-one in content sparring. I do a bunch of strategy questions before we get into the content part of things. And I need to, like, help people uncover their points of view. But coming together and working with you on this, like, that's something that people do in Skill 1 already. So at first, I was trying to help people with, like, problem mining exercises and, like, getting insights, like what keeps your audience up at night, all that stuff. And then I was like, why am I doing, like, they already did this in Skill 1. I don't need to do this. But where I don't think it's perfect yet, and where this is just going to kind of always be an endless work in progress, is there's specific, like, high level strategy stuff, and then there's questions that I need to ask you to prompt ideas, like good ideas for content. And I'm not sure that I've found that perfect balance yet. And bringing it back to, like, all of you and solopreneurs, like, there's always going to be, you're always going to have clients who are like, I've already done this or that or that. And the question is, like, how do you then, like, do you change what you've done to slot in? Like, you don't want to add redundancy. So many people complain, like, oh, you hire an agency and they just take you through, like, 6 weeks of bullshit strategy questions that I've answered 1,000 times for people, like, like, you don't want to do that, but you also do want to get the answers that you need so that people are in the right mindset to go through your work. So I'm going back and forth on that a lot. I don't know. What are your initial thoughts on that?
I agree. And Finn, no, it is tough because when we do this in a private consulting engagement, like, it's just way more of a dynamic experience where you, like, talking through stuff is obviously, like, the easiest way to figure something out. So it's not so, like, it doesn't feel so jarring, and it's definitely not as linear. It's much more like you're doing these things in tandem. So it's like, as you come up with some problem things, it's like we will actively stop people. And we do this when we're on calls with people right now, like, especially just in this group. It's like, stop talking. That's content. Like, write that down. You say that deal every time. You're like, that's content. Like, say that.
Yep.
Just say that. That's the content right there. And, like, oh, so it's like, it's easier to connect a lot of those dots where, like, that is not happening in a self-paced course.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do you recreate that? How do you show people in isolation all of the bonds between these different ideas? And it's hard. It's
hard.
And so it's like, it makes you feel like you're like, what makes it work when you're on a call like this? And then how do you recreate that in like a workbook? And so I think part of the thing is like, well, how do we leverage the tool like Notion to even just something as simple as syncing all these blocks where it's like, cool, all this shit that you did in skill 1, like let's put it right in front of you in skill 2 so that you can actively grab from it versus trying to like literally just even the act of flipping back to another page is sometimes still not the answer. Like there's might be too much friction there.
I agree. I think that there's like definitely some notioning that we can be doing here. But I also think like there's potentially room for me to have people dig a little bit deeper into those questions and like the problems you solve and all that stuff, like before you create content, because there's, in my opinion, there are 2 levels of point of view. There's like, and perspective. There's like the really top level. I think that people call this like pillar content. Like what's like your big point of view, right? But then there's like little splinters that fall underneath that. And I don't mean pillars, because I've had a whole like
you're beefing with pillars. That's why I'm like smirking over here.
Beefing with pillars this week. It hit. I've never had more connection requests from CMOs than I did this week.
Because they were like, we need to like
CMOs are done with pillars. You heard it here first.
Okay, I thought there was like, we need to argue with you about
no, this. Like people were like, holy shit, I'm gonna go implement this ASAP. Like, so I need to, that's a signal. I need to double down. I'm going to send my newsletter about that this week. Like, that's the thing I got to talk about for the next couple days. And then again, forever. But I think that there's like big points of views, like editing is important, right? Like that's a point of view. But then there's smaller points of views underneath that, like perspectives, and those like smaller points of view are easier to create content from than like this big giant perspective, right? Like, so I think that there's actually some like an easier way to tie the 2 together that I've just kind of come to in the past few days. And the reason why we're sharing this behind the scenes in the private podcast is because this is a work in progress. Like, I don't think that rejigging skill 2 is going to affect anyone's progress or learning that much, because I'm still there going back and forth with you. I'm going to ask you the questions that are going to get you the best content anyway, whether it's async with me or if it's through the course. But like everything we do is just going to remove any friction points or like any of the necessary back and forth that we're having. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting back and forth. And I'm not convinced I need to do anything, but I feel like I want to.
Well, this comes from a place, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this one. And I had a coach tell me this my last job. Chris Marr actually kind of basically shaped this one up for me.
Nice.
And when you're talking to somebody, whether it's in an environment like the classroom or in the community where they share what they're working on, and you feel like you got the wrong answer, or you're talking to somebody on a call and you get the wrong answer, he was like, dude, if you get the wrong answer, it's because you asked the wrong question.
I love that so
much.
And
it re-swizzled my brain on this one, because it's like, all right, well, it's my fault. So what did I did something wrong. And it's not like people are giving necessarily, quote unquote, like truly wrong answers. Like it's objective or whatever, subjective, that like whatever the thing they're trying to, whatever they believe.
Yeah.
But it's more so like, I'm not quite getting you to formulate your idea or direct your thinking in a specific type of way that enables you to do something else. Like whatever, right? There's like an order of operations here, and I'm missing the mark here because the things that I'm getting back are not quite what I expected. So I'm asking the wrong question. And it might not be, in this case, it's not like a literal question, but it's like, all right, well, there's something confusing about it. I mean, I felt this with core competency.
Yeah.
I rebuilt that thing like 2 or 3 times because it's like, people are like really overcomplicating this simple idea of like, what can I do?
Yeah.
Like, what can I do? Am I like an ads person? Like, what's the topic? What's the category of thing? Am I a copywriter? Am I an engineer? Am I like a ADHD expert and coach? Like, what is my thing so that I know what I'm going to build this whole offer around, and so I know what I'm going to write about?
Definitely. Yeah.
And I just kept getting things that were people. I think people wanted it to be more complicated than it was, and it wasn't supposed to be complicated. It was just like, cool, directionally, like, hey, we're gonna do this thing, and then it's like, cool, now that you know this thing, you're gonna write about executives with ADHD or whatever, like that as a topic. Like, cool, well, now we know where to go, and from there, there's a whole bunch of different things that you could talk about, all the different types of problems and how you deal with it, and all the different ways that you're qualified to talk about it.
Exactly. It's about pointing people as simply as you can in the right direction.
Yeah. It's a topic. Like, I think topic, like content pillar, I don't care. Like, you can call it whatever the hell you want. I just think it's topically, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
I need to become tethered to this idea at the highest possible level, at the most basic level.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
That's it.
The thing about content, this is me just being like, we have the same problems that our members do. Like, we know too much. So like, I've had 5 trillion million questions about content and the best way to create content, and there is no like one way to get from idea to post that you're happy with that's going to actually do something. Like, it literally is different for every person. A lot of it has to do with just how your brain works, like what your personality is. So there's never going to be a skill too that's like the perfect glove for everyone, you know? So, but I think
that. Put that in the skill.
I
will.
I'm
serious. Like, make a thing that's like, before you start this lesson, before you start this module, that's the thing you got to say. It's like, everyone operationalizes their shit differently. Like, there are some people who spend a lot of money on Notion templates to manage their content. Yeah. I wanted to be that person so bad. I was like, I want to have this content calendar and all my bullshit and like fucking put it in production and write it and fucking whatever. I'm not that person. I'm definitely way more vibes. I'm like, oh, this shit keeps coming up.
Yeah.
And then I write a post about it. And that serves me. That works for me. Some people, they would rather die than live life on the edge like this. There's like, I need a system. Like, great, go get a system.
I agree. And I will put that in there. But to your point, I have taught this for years, and I have overcomplicated the shit out of it as people have like asked more and more questions, and I've tried to answer, you know, in the broadest way possible. And this has been an exercise. The whole reason why I just kind of stripped skill 2 down to like the actions is like, the most important thing that you can do is just start writing. Like, just fucking start writing. Like, and from there we will be able to go layers deeper. But yeah, I do have to still guide you to just start writing in the simplest way. And I think I'm there. Like, I think I'm much happier with skill 2 now than it was before, because it was very theoretical before, and I was getting the answers that I was getting, you know, were all over the shop. I mean, people's posts were all over the shop, and it wasn't following any of the 10 angles or any of that stuff. And so I knew from that, like, I was like, I got to rejig this, so I'm getting kind of more of the answers that I'm trying to go for here. Because skill 2 is all about writing. It's principle based shit. It's like, you need to get these 10 angles into your head so that you can subconsciously just like work through them. Like, these 10 angles are going to foundationally like live with you as you go on and write forever. And so I want you to oversimplify it down to just these 10 things so that you can then like have that foundation and build from there. And before I did that, it was just way too complex. So anyway, but I still think there's like 10% left work to do to combine skill 1 and skill 2 so that they don't have to flip back in their pages.
I think the types of posts lesson in skill 2 are by far the most important lesson, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Because like, all the other things are like, how do you write a hook? It's like, okay, this is a tactical thing. If you don't know how to play the game, that is LinkedIn bullshit. Like, can you post to LinkedIn? You need to understand that.
Yeah.
But then everyone's like, cool, now I know how to play. what do I do? What do I write about? And I felt like that change up where it's like, cool, there are only 3 things that you can do. There's only 3 things you should. I mean, you can do a lot of things. There's only 3 things you should do. It's going to make a difference.
Yep.
And I mean, you have a lot of leeway within those 3 things. But my gosh, is it like that was an unlock for me. It's like, okay, because I've been telling people just market the problem for years now.
Yeah.
And I felt like people were like, cool, but like, what do you mean by that? And I was like, well, how do you make this problem highly visible to everyone who experiences it? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, and then like you got to go back and you're like, okay, well, how did we frame this problem? Like, go say that to people.
Yeah.
Go tell the people this stuff. I don't know. I think if you were to live in those 3 posts, those 3 types of posts for the rest of your life,
that's all that I do, though. Like, I didn't realize I only did those 3 things because I hadn't thought of it that way. But that's all that anyone's doing.
There's an original Notion document that I think I'm just going to upload it to school because I think it's interesting and I think people will like find value in it. There was an original school doc or Notion document here, and it was called like, what do I write about? And I was like, okay, how am I supposed to figure this out? And I went through all of your posts and all of my posts, and they basically fit neatly into these 3 categories. And I have like a bajillion examples, which I should share it just because.
Yeah, I actually think you and I should create a database where we just add posts that we've written and posts that other people have written into these 3 categories, like in perpetuity. So by the time we're done in like a year, there'll be thousands of posts there.
True. Let me see if I can
start that project.
There was, I think at the time I called it like build a series. There was like the idea of like creating a series. Like I was leveraging the show because the show allows you to send content to other people and other people will share, so you can kind of like get their audience.
Yep.
But it also kind of increases motivation to subscribe, which is something I've been thinking a lot about lately. There's like, how do you get somebody to follow or subscribe? Well, like, what's the motivation? Well, series are a pretty simple one because it's like, okay, cool. I know that I will get more of this thing.
Yep.
Pretty straightforward. Motivation to subscribe comes from, I agree with that this problem exists and that it applies to me. Or it's like, those results are compelling and I would like some of those results.
Yeah.
Fits in neatly into the 3 buckets. Like, there's not very many other things that people are interested in.
I subscribe to podcasts when they help me frame up things in my head that I can't stop thinking about, and they frame them up better than I can, or they help me like forward my thinking so that I can then frame it up in my own way. And I think yours does a great job of that, because you're showing people all these different ways that you can get into this life. Sorry for the sniffles, everybody.
I'll do my best to edit them out.
And it just gives you, it unlocks ideas. Like when it unlocks a level deeper thinking, then that's a brilliant thing. And I think people subscribe when they feel like you're gonna open their mind a bit or help them see something and understand something in a different way. And yeah, series are great for that. Just consistently sending a newsletter once a week is great for that because they know that they're going to get something good once a week.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to tug the motivation to subscribe thing. And we don't need to go down that rabbit hole because that's not necessarily what it's all about. But I was like, I have found in my own personal business of someone who is like, I think a pretty average content creator, like the show has made a massive difference in that for my business.
Yeah.
It's like, cool, here's a thing that we can expect. And for you, it's the newsletter. I like the show because it kind of builds on like the same, I kind of have like the same the premise is the same across the board. It's like and if you're into that sort of thing
Oh
that I'm
yeah.
talking about, then
Series
it's like
are
easy.
fantastic. Like even within a newsletter, you can do a series.
True.
Um,
One of my clients, Elise LeMay, is doing this. She just launched this concept of creator gravity, and she's been aerating it in her newsletter, Internetly, and she has like a 6-part series that she's going through about like the first one was like, hey, here's an idea. I call it creator gravity. The next one was what the fuck is creator gravity? The next one was how to pull people. Oh no, the first one was like the manifesto, how to pull people into your orbit. And then the next one was, now I need to know because now I need to like really nail this one because it's like, it's epic. Then there was what the fuck is creator gravity? Then the next one is why can't you build creator gravity part 1. She'll drop a part 2, how to build gravity from scratch. So that's like her story and case studies, and then how to have a lucrative career from gravity.
totally. And so talk
like,
me through
mini
this.
series, boom! Like the amount of people in the comments who are like, "This is nuts."
Let's go a level deeper, though. Let's go a level deeper. Like beyond just the surface level, blowing people's minds and giving them a new way to think about something. How does this help her shape her perspective and talk about and frame up the problem, market the problem in a way that's going to drive her business? Like, let's connect skill 1 to skill 2 here.
Completely. Okay. I love this. And I literally just posted about this 10 seconds before we hit record, which is like people need to know how to perceive the thing that they're looking at. What direction is Elise facing? And you need to know what direction she's facing so that you can face that direction too. So she says, there's this huge problem in the world. You can attract a bunch of followers, but you can't keep them. And even if you can't keep them, you certainly can't monetize.
Okay.
Right? So like the whole pump and dump thing is like a huge problem with creators getting these huge followings or selling a bunch of shit, and that's a bunch of bullshit and everybody hates it. It's like, so there's this huge problem. What is it about the creators that have massive followings, that have massive businesses? Like, what was it about them? Why do they have this gravity to them where not only is there motivation to subscribe, but there's motivation to like stick around?
Yep.
And so she was like, here's the problem. She's done this for herself. She was a ghostwriter for people like Miss Excel with like over 350,000 people on her newsletter. So she's writing a newsletter to 350,000 people. And she's doing this for multiple accounts or for multiple clients. She's doing this for herself. She's like, okay, so here's the problem and here's the difference from this like place of indifference to this place of gravity. And so, I mean, the through line was pretty straightforward. I think the thing that gave it a lot of bite was the languaging too. Like
Yep.
she named it a thing.
Yeah, naming things
said,
really helps.
Oh yeah. How do you not like how do you get more subscribers? I mean, like, sure. How do you get people to subscribe and stay subscribed? Sure. Like these are tangible and specific enough. But when she called it creator gravity, people were like, "Oh, I want that.
Yep.
Like I want the gravity. I don't want the followers. I want the gravity that like creates the followers."
Right. So let me just take this a level deeper then to connect these two skills even more. So the problem is that the people that she's serving, her ideal buyers, are getting followers, but they're struggling to monetize those followers. Is that correct?
Yeah, or keep their follower.
Or keep their follower.
As followers. Like they're churning out newsletter subscribers. You do a viral thing and then you get a big bump and then all those people kind of just like fall out.
So that's the problem. And she frames the problem by giving you a phrase for the answer. So she makes the solution to the problem very sexy. Like, you want this thing, and the path to getting creator gravity, like the obstacle in your way, are all of these problems. And now she can make those problems extremely visible, and people are interested because she's also started by being like, I'm showing you the end. I'm showing you like the prize that you get. but here are all these things in your way. Like, come along on this journey with me. I will show you how to smash them. That's a really enticing way to get people into your world and to start to trust you and to gain credibility, because you are showing people the end and then showing them the obstacles in the way, showing you how to get past those obstacles.
I want to like make this so specific. I'm going to read
okay.
this to you because like this is exactly how she did it.
Okay.
This is how you frame a problem. She did it. It was like this is a masterclass, right? So I even tell this is an extension of the point of view. So we worked out the point of view with the same documentation we have in full stack. Like I worked it out with her.
Yep.
And it was like, okay, well, what's the status quo? She said Substacks, tweets, reels, skeets. Literally, this is what you call blue sky posts. We're all drowning in content. Average person processes 74 gigs of information daily. That's like the equivalent of 16 movies. Like, we're tired, we're distracted, we don't have the mental bandwidth to absorb 99% of this stuff. Status quo. Align on the problem.
And let me just pause, because copywriting, that's problem agitation. And now we're about to enter the solution. So it's the PAS framework.
Yes. But there are creators who have cut through the digital deluge and captured people's attention. Creators who have built an orbit of fans who clamor for more. But how on earth did they do it? Okay. Future without the problem. Bridge to the future. How did they do it?
Yep.
Here it goes. Since 2020, I've ghostwritten for these unignorable creators, those with millions of followers and devoted audiences, and discovered what goes into crafting content that gets noticed.
Credibility.
Here's what I learned. An unignorable creator has gravity. Boom.
Thesis.
It's like, okay.
Yep.
Like, even if she doesn't specifically name the problem as much as it's like
she's described it.
She's framed the whole thing up. She pointed you in most of this one direction. Unignorable creators have gravity.
Yep.
And she even has a whole thing that we can link to this post.
Yeah, we should.
She goes into this whole thing about how it's like gravity over virality. And then she breaks down the formula for creator gravity. So it's this combination of like what she calls health, purpose, and energy.
Yep.
She even has this whole like hilarious vitamin like concept that she goes through. Like vitamin A is aha, vitamin C is clarity, vitamin D is delight, iron is for intelligence, and the B complex is like the truth.
I was about to say that sounds familiar, but she did shout out Sean Purry's post for the inspiration. But let me just pause again. So a lot of objections I hear from people when they're starting to create content is, how do I say something that everyone else in the world has said, but differently? This is a fucking blueprint of how to do it differently. She is saying nothing new here. Like, when you break it down to the bones, she's saying, essentially, if you want people to know, like, and trust you, they have to feel like you give a shit about them and that you give a shit about what you're doing. Like, it's really simple. But she's put her own spin on it. She's created a phrase that is sexy, and she's created all of these things in here. A creator gravity has 3 values. Like, she's making this up out of thin air. It's not like she went to a textbook and was like Googling creator gravity. She's making it up, but it doesn't matter because she is putting her own framework on something. And I highly encourage all of you guys to put your own frameworks on things too. Market the process, market the problem, market the proof. Like, Nick and I made that up out of thin air. But it makes sense. And like I said at the beginning, I've never gotten more requests on LinkedIn from CEOs, CMOs, and like high-level marketing people who are interested in what I literally just made up out of thin air. So I hope that this gives you permission to make shit up that obviously makes sense with what you're doing. It doesn't have to be something that exists already. You can say the same thing differently, like everybody does.
What's interesting too here is like the comments are crazy. Like, someone said, I never had it explained to me this clearly, but this is what I naturally figured out by following my heart. And it was like, oh, okay. So they're validating that like the gravity thing is very intangible in that way.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, okay. Like, and here's the important thing. I encourage people this all the time. It's like, just this is her being an explorer, not an expert.
Yes.
She has written for these major creators, but they weren't major when they started. And she's like, okay, well, what was it about the thing that we did? How did I do the thing for myself? And I was like, okay, just case study them. So that's what she did. Here's Kat Norton. Kat Norton runs a company called Miss Excel. She has 1.1 million followers on Instagram, 960K on TikTok. She's featured on CNBC, Make It, Forbes, more. It's like she has gravity.
Yeah.
Here's her purpose. Learning Microsoft Office can and should be fun. Here's the health. She creates handy Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook tips infusing dances and songs and costumes. Who said learning Excel had to be boring? Here's the energy. She infuses her creativity and good vibes into every post. Like she's like, I had to Google her because I didn't know who she was before, but I'm like, she loves Excel and she loves dancing. I don't care what anybody says. Like she's like legit is having so much fun.
Yeah.
Doing something that is traditionally the most boring thing on the planet, Microsoft Excel. Anyway, she's like, here's Hannah Williams. She runs a company called Sale All Your Transparent Street. She's helped over 3 million people determine their market rates and get paid what they deserve. She has over 1 billion views and 900,000 followers on Instagram. That's gravity.
Yeah.
Right? Like, anyway, so she goes through this and I'm like, okay, great. Now that we've gone through this concept and we have all the people that like you have walked, like in hindsight, it's like, here's the thing, here's the system that was at play. So the next one she did was, or I think the most recent one she did was on what the fuck is creator of gravity. And she did a case study on Jay Klaus, the creator science guy. And she built the whole thing around Jay, because Jay's like very public in that he shares how much money his business is making, where it came from, where it went. Like he shares a lot about his creator business.
Yep.
And so she goes through Jay's story of like April 2022, where he was having a roller coaster of income. He was having a bunch of problems. He was struggling. He wasn't quite doing what he wanted to, or he wasn't making what he needed to make. And then so she builds the story of saying like, Jay's successful for a lot of reasons, but here's how I see it. And she runs Jay's life, his business, through the lens of creator gravity.
Yes.
Here's his purpose. Here's the health element of it. Here's the energy of it. Like, here's all the stuff. And then you add all this up. Jay has creator gravity. Jade makes like $1 million this year or last year.
Yep. I did the same thing in my hooks course. I created all these principles, all these formulas, and then I pulled in all of these people who are writing hooks and I made them fit into my framework. And you can borrow what people are doing without asking them, hey, does this fit? And make it fit. Because you're not saying they 100% did this. You're saying, in my point of view, this is that. And you're allowed to do that, and you should do that.
100%. And here's like the best part about it. Like, she was in Jay's group, so she has like a connection to him, but like, in that she like paid to have access to the lab. Cool, whatever. But like, she tagged him in the post, and she linked to him on Substack, tagged him in the post on LinkedIn. It's like, great. Now you have someone who's a high profile creator or higher profile person who's going to look at that and have a positive affinity towards you and the thing that you wrote about, the nice thing that you said about them. They're going to share it with their audience, or their engagement with it is going to also distribute it to other people.
Yeah, it's called borrowing credibility.
100%. Like, and everybody wins in that situation. It's good for Jay. It's good for Elise. It's good for creator gravity as a concept.
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to do this.
I encourage everyone to do it. Don't have it be the only thing you do, though, as just a fair warning, because if all you're doing is borrowing other people's credibility, then you're never building your own. I would just make sure you build your own.
That's why proof. That's why like the proof element of this framework is so important. But like, I think this is worth double clicking on, because, and to your point, like, hey, the first episode of Creator Gravity, or the first edition, whatever, was 3 case studies she worked on.
Yep.
And then this most recent one was, here's an example that like, here's an example of something that I had nothing to do with, to prove that other people are successful. Like, this thinking can apply in a bunch of different places. So,
yep.
I just think this is interesting. I don't know exactly how we kind of got torn off onto this rabbit hole as an example
I can't
here,
remember if I'm
but
being honest, but it feels good. It feels right
it's
because
connecting skill 1 to skill 2.
it's
That's like
connect.
the
Oh
bigger,
yeah, yeah. It's
that's the
connecting
bigger
skill 1 to
thing
skill
here.
2 because you have worked with Elise privately, and she doesn't need me necessarily to skill 2 because
She's
she
a writer.
is a writer and she already had Nick kind of helping her with that stuff. So she's going off, and she's also had an audience before, so it's much easier for her to build this content engine because she already had momentum going. So that's
Well,
why.
arguably, she had nothing on LinkedIn really up until the last 6 months or so. She hasn't put. She's got like 22,000 on Twitter, but like most people, Twitter is like slowly. Twitter has changed.
I left my audience there. I just can't.
And so she's still somewhat active there, but like LinkedIn is pretty fertile ground for her.
How long has she had this newsletter?
Internetly's been around for a bit. I'm gonna say like several years.
Okay.
March of 2021 was when she started it.
There's just an insane amount of comments. It doesn't look new to me because of that.
Well, she's new to Substack.
Oh,
she just
okay.
switched. Like
Well,
she's
then
been on Beehive up
kudos
until
to her.
a couple months ago.
That's just the power of a great idea. Yeah.
That's the power of a great idea. The fact that like people are sharing it.
Yeah, yeah.
People are restacking it and commenting on it. Like
there's 102 likes and 19 restacks.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy. That's huge.
Like, what the fuck is Creator Gravity? Has 175 likes and 29 comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's craziness. 30 restacks.
I love that. So then that's just even more proof that you don't need to have, like, it helps that she's been writing on the internet for a while, but you don't need to have a huge audience to get momentum. You just don't. Like, it helps, but you don't need it.
Yeah, the more important thing here is the framing of an idea.
Yes.
Like framing of the problem. She got people to see very clearly how the problem manifests in their life. Like, if you have the creator gravity problem, or if you have the like creator indifference problem, and creator gravity is the thing you need, like, it's very easy to opt into that.
Yep.
So I think, she got 7,900 on LinkedIn now, but she also knows how to write online. So it's really easy for her to build an audience because she's built that skill.
Yep.
Over the last several years. So it's like, whereas I've been sitting here pounding away on LinkedIn for years, and I just cracked 4,000 like a dummy.
Who cares? You've been making tons of money for a long time. So,
well, I guess that does count for something. But like, sometimes I'm like, how the hell do these people just like show up and post like viral thing, or just like how do you do it? Like, that's the thing I like don't get. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm on like that slow and steady wins the race thing, because it's like, if you look at my analytics, no joke, it's like 1 follower. Like, you mentioned me in a post and it's like 12 followers, and I'm like, whoa, big day. What happened? Where did these people come from?
I mean, we could do a whole behind the scenes therapy session on your LinkedIn if you want.
I don't think my LinkedIn's particularly the thing.
I think if you like, the people who go super viral say really obvious things, and you don't, and I wouldn't want you to.
Yeah, I guess there's that element. That's a pretty big element of it.
It's a pretty big element.
Like, it's not even that I want the virality of it. I think that it's easy to look at the follower count, and I know the death of the followers, like the thing. It's like, there's really no point, because it's all interest based. Like, people I follow a ton of people, and I don't see any of their shit ever, so it doesn't really matter. Like, I see more shit from people I don't follow than people I do, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But like, I think it's this like nod of like it's like the digital handshake of the internet, where it's like validated in some sort of way that like, oh, okay, several thousand other people have opted into this thing.
Yeah, but it also so depends on what you're talking about. Like, teaching people how to write in a place where people have to write is like the easiest thing you can do.
True.
And that's what I do. So like, I'm not downplaying what I do. I'm just saying, like, obviously people are going to follow me on a platform where I'm showing you how to do things on a platform. Like, duh. Like, yours is not as straight and narrow. And a lot of the people in this group don't have a very straight and narrow either. So like, you know, like if I were to go on YouTube and talk about writing, I'm not going to get as many natural followers as I get on LinkedIn, which is primarily writing, although that's changing. So you just don't know.
I don't know. I guess everything's made up and the points don't matter, right?
Exactly. And the goalposts always move.
The goalposts always move. I mean, this is why creating content with other people is so important. I was telling someone about this earlier today, and I think this is a good thing to dig into, which is I don't think I would have been able to have had even a fraction of the amount of opportunity without that show.
Yeah.
Because it allowed me to start conversations with like you and a bunch of other people with like higher LinkedIn profiles that like just anyone, you can start a conversation with anybody basically.
So let me ask you, at what point in your solopreneur pathway were you like, I'm going to do this show?
Oh, I wanted to do it before I even like started. That was like the first thing I wanted to do. I didn't even have a client yet.
Fascinating.
I wanted to do it. I waited a year.
Why'd you want to do it so badly?
Because I felt like that was the highest thing I could do to achieve that like motivation to subscribe. Like how was I going to get people to stick around?
Interesting.
But I couldn't develop, I struggled to develop the premise properly. I didn't have enough input, like data points and just like talking to more people, running the play a few times, like getting a few clients. That's what made it compelling and interesting. It's like, okay, now that I see this thing happening, like there's a million different ways for people to build their business, and it's not so just like programmatic as your LinkedIn feed wants you to think, or all the meta ads you get. And then it was like, okay, cool. Who are people who are building interesting businesses? Oh, this person, Erica Schneider, seems to be doing something interesting. Like, let me interview her.
I love that. Yeah.
Right. Like, and then all of a sudden you can like, you make friends with a bunch of people. I mean, it's not like you become friends with everybody, but it's like, I can refer people to these people now that I know more about them. I have like a personal relationship with them.
Yep. How many people have you interviewed that became clients? Because I'm definitely one. I can count like 2 or 3 or 4 more.
Probably, I would say maybe 6 or I've interviewed like 37 people. There's 37 that are live. 37 interviews live right now.
It's also been a funnel for you.
Oh, for sure. I have, Anna Firmanov just went out at 37, interview number 37.
Didn't you interview her a while ago? Oh no, you were just.
I just interviewed her. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know why I thought you were already.
That was number 37 that just went out on last Friday. Today, I republished actually your interview.
Oh yeah.
My producer was like, we gotta fix your edit.
Well, so far I have my fancy microphone too.
Oh, well, this was like the original interview. They remastered it because my edit was not good. Okay. So they remastered and republished it. But they were like, we're gonna take all the ones that we think should have like more visibility and republish them for you, because and also it's like hard to stay on top of the interview schedule, so it's good to fill in a couple weeks with remasters. Anyway, not the point. I would say probably 6 to straight up like I want to become a client from those, and then like the person I interviewed was like I want to become a client, and then I would say probably, I don't know, 15 or 20 more people of like indirect opportunities, whether it's people who I've interviewed now know me and they're able to make an introduction to someone else.
Very cool.
Or like they've introduced me to someone else who I think I was like, at the end of every interview, I'm like, do you know anyone else who you think has an interesting story to tell? Like, anyone that comes to mind? And they'll introduce me to someone, and I interview that person, and then like their audience brings in people.
Yep.
And it's like, look, all this sounds like very selfish and self-serving. Like we're all in business to grow our stuff. Like everyone everyone's out for themselves at first, but it's like, you got to find a way to build relationships with people who you don't have a direct access to. Like I would have never been able to just been like, hey, do you want to just like talk about your business with me? And it's like, but all of a sudden you hit record and it's like not weird. And so I don't know. I mean, there's definitely some other factors at play, but I would say the number one thing for me was just like it gave me a genuine way to like connect with more people and people that I wanted to associate with. I think there's like I was like, I don't know, there's people out there that are doing really, really interesting things. How do I learn from them? And how do I gain access to these people so that I can build relationships with them?
Yep.
Like and like or even just like hear from them, because the first 10 episodes were like a masterclass in business, because I was like, oh shit, like I didn't think about any of this stuff.
So go back and listen to the first 10 episodes.
Yeah, well,
to
it's
start.
just like, I mean, all of them are in their own way, but it was like the first 10 episodes, I'm like, my mind is blown every time, because you hear all this stuff and you're like, holy shit, I never thought about any of this stuff before.
Yeah, I hear
But
that a
then-
lot from people that run podcasts, that they basically just get like paid to learn from
Yeah.
really smart people.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So the show is the greatest thing that I think the number one thing that I've ever done. I mean, it's not like the cheapest thing in the world to run.
Yeah.
It took me probably like 4 or 5 hours to edit each episode. Like each episode's an hour, so it's like 4 or 5 minutes per minute. Not very good return on my time.
Yeah.
And then it took me, I don't know, like after doing 10 episodes, I started to seek outsourced production help.
Yep.
I hired Share Your Genius to do it, and they do a fantastic job. And it's like very simple for me now, and it frees me up so that I can focus on having great interviews and talking to cool people, spending more time booking guests and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a fantastic thing, and I would say like don't be like, it's okay to be like a little selfish in the fact that you're like, hey, like I want to meet this person.
Yeah.
Like I want to interview cool people. I want to hear what they're doing. And if hey, look, if we get along, we get along. Like cool. Like then that's fantastic. Like there's nothing, like it's okay. Like all those things are great. Like I found out the hard way that your network is actually your net worth.
Yeah.
Like that felt so stupid to me before I worked for myself, and then I realized one day that it was like, oh, that's very much the truth.
My version of this has just been being a guest on a bunch of podcasts. It's like the reverse of what you're doing. Like I am getting to talk to really smart people and like spread my ideas around to their audiences by just being a guest on tons of things. And their audiences have become clients of mine because of that.
You are in an interesting position because people want you to be on the show. I've never been invited on anyone's podcast.
What?
I have been on 2 other podcasts or 3 other podcasts, but it was because I invited myself. Like I got like a newsletter from Dan Sanchez, if you're familiar with who he is,
Sounds familiar.
like a year ago. And
Yeah.
he was like, here's the thing about niching down. And I responded to the newsletter and I was like, I see it like this. And he was like, yo, let's get on the pod. Like, I want to hear that perspective. It's timely. And I was like, cool, let's do it. I found my way onto the Agency Life podcast. I forget exactly how I did it when I first got started, but I don't have an audience, so no one wanted to like hear what I had to say. So you kind of have to. It's like people are willing to platform you because you have an audience.
Yeah, that's
It's
people definitely. It's a game of, if you both have an audience, it's cool because it's less of a game of like being used, and it's more like we're just using each other. It's like a co-marketing partnership thing as opposed to being used. I've definitely been on podcasts where people aggressively tried to get me to share all of the things all the time about it, and that's a bit uncomfortable.
yeah. I'm pretty indifferent about it. I'm like, hey, here's some clips. If you feel compelled to share something, like
That's the way, in my opinion.
Like,
That's the
and
way.
I would say like 33 out of the 37 guests have shared something.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool. That makes a huge difference.
It's just being human instead of being like
Yeah. Well, I
annoying.
think I've been on like one of the shows I went on. I was like, I don't want to share this because I feel like I said I fucking sound like an idiot. Like you didn't edit this at all. This sounds so stupid. I sound so dumb right now. Why would you not edit this at all? So I was like, I don't want to share this. Like the way that this got put together does not serve me. So I try to make sure that when we edit the show, it's not like we don't change the thing, but you smooth out the conversation a little bit so that it's not so. Sometimes shit just doesn't serve people, and they're like I've shared clips with people, and they were like, I have said the word like 500 times in this thing.
Yeah.
you have a different clip. And I was like, oh, fix, like, make people feel good about sharing this. Like, have them represent themselves well. If they don't feel like they represented themselves well, they're not going to be compelled to share it.
Absolutely.
So that's that. That's the whole thing on a podcast. I don't see. We got there too. All right, we've been going. Let's
We've been going for a while.
This plane. Let's land this plane. What's the
through line?
What's the last laugh here?
I think that just a bit of a synthesis of all the stuff we talked about, which is like create as few points of friction as possible for your clients. And it's important to understand like what they've gone through before. Not that you should change anything you're doing, but just to get a perspective on that. Like I was even working with a sparring client this morning and I asked her, you know, do you have your points of view and perspective? And she was like, oh yeah, actually I did some work with someone. And so we wrote those down and we started from there. And then I like tied everything else that I was doing back to that. So she didn't feel like she was just starting over again, like brand new. And she said that was really awesome. So you and I are going to keep trying to make sure skill 1 and skill 2 are tethered together without friction. But it's just a good takeaway for everyone else. And then fucking like frame the problem in a, like make a framework, create a sexy phrase. That's what AI is for.
That's why I created that lesson, by the way, was because of the creator gravity thing. I was like, duh, like the approach different from the how you do it, like the approach. What's the thing? Where's the bite? And I was like, this is the answer.
Love that. Yeah. And then we rabbit holed into all the different ways that you can build momentum and get people to be excited to subscribe. But I think it all ties together. I think it was a good.
I think we did all right.
I think we did all right. All right.
All right. See, we made up for not doing one last week.
Yeah, this is double the legs.
So there we go. All right. Till next time.
Till next time.